All right, all right, all right. Welcome to the Tuesday Night Principal Cairo broadcast with DE and Band of Brothers. I'm Dr. Brian Moriarty, your esteemed MC for tonight's exciting call with Dr. Paul Roses, and I'm joined by Emma in the house, my co-MC. How's it going today, Emma?
Good.
How was school today? Good? And do you want to tell our viewers anything?
I love to eat.
Good, you love to eat. Good. Did you have a good time at the Clearwater DE?
Yeah.
What was your favorite part? Going to the beach, playing with the kids.
Going to the beach.
Going to the beach. That was a lot of fun. Good. And did you have a good Easter?
Yes.
Yeah, wasn't that fun? We had some family over. Hope everyone on here had a wonderful Easter and a happy Passover and whatever else you celebrate. It's a joyous time of year. And speaking of joyous, there's nothing more joyous than Connect groups. So we've got Connect groups. If you guys are not on a team yet, the blue team, the orange team, the yellow team, or the purple team, get connected so you can keep in touch with some of your brothers and sisters in DE. I'm on the purple team and love being on them. Great bunch of people, some nice uplifting messages we share. And then we got our upcoming DE meetings. We just had the Clearwater one in April. Hopefully you were there. It was awesome. Beautiful weather. And then we're going to Atlanta, July 17th to the 20th, followed by Atlanta again, October 23rd to the 26th. And then just after the New Year's, January 8th to the 11th, we're back in Clearwater. And I hear we're going to be back in Clearwater in April as well, but we'll wait for that overlay. Go to lifede.com to get registered. It is never too early to get registered for Dynamic Essentials. Right, Emma?
Yeah.
Okay. So we got an awesome speaker tonight from the great state of New Jersey, my home state. So it's always it's close to home. But this gentleman is a Life College graduate. I believe they called it Life College back 42 years ago. 42 plus years in practice. I'm sure he's seen a bunch. He's an awesome, awesome chiropractor. And I'm really excited to hear him share from Bayonne, New Jersey. Let's give it up for Dr. Paul Rose.
Hey, what's up, you guys? I love hanging out, talking with my tribe, you know? Speaking of tribe, have you guys watched Survivor with my daughter Bianca? She made it through, five shows. And I want to touch on that a little bit and then go into the topic that I wanted to try to reach. But while she was on Survivor, she was, showing off her Jersey girl stuff, and I think we got to see her personality pretty well. But one of the things that she grew up in, even though I never really understood how it worked, and I'm starting to get it now, was, do you remember the part, if you watched it, where she had to go up and she had threw the dice and then 3 skulls came up. And if you get 4, you lose your vote. So the first thing was 3 skulls came up. And then after that, she's like, okay, I'm going to manifest. I'm going to see the 3 good fire dice. And blew me away that when she threw it, she got the 3 fire dice. So now she's got 3 and 3, and she needs 1 to go. And she's sitting there and she's going to manifest it. And I don't know what was going on in her head, but she threw it out and she got the damn skull. And she said, well, we won't say what she said, but it was definitely a Jersey word. And she lost her vote. And because of that had a lot to do with her getting out, and she had to compromise herself. And then she hooks up in the jungle with this surgeon who she said she talked to for hours and really connected with him. So she had to create new alliances and things. And she realized at the end, she said, well, that was probably my mistake, because when I told them I lost my vote, that's when they voted me out. So the moral of that story is, don't trust the MDs. No, I'm only kidding. All right. So hopefully I hear like a little round of applause, and I mean, not applause, some laughter in the background on that one. Now, but she did manifest, and she really believes in that. And I texted her probably 2 days ago, because this all happened in the summer, and she's back home, and we're watching it, and she's made some lifelong friends from the cast. And we've been bouncing around to different places with the cast and having a lot of fun with all of them. But I asked her, I said, has that affected your belief, since you didn't get what you wanted and what you think you manifested, and put all the power and the energy out, and it didn't happen? I said, did that shake your belief? And she actually wrote back, and she said, you know what? I'm wrestling with that. I really am. And we have to kind of accept that sometimes things aren't on our time and our terms. I personally know people who've been going to DE for years and years and years. And I'd like to probably talk about my journey through DE and my, what's that word when a freaking caterpillar goes in and comes out? The metamorphosis. That's it. That's what I'm looking for. Going through DE and picking up the esoterics, the things that you just have to believe in for them to come true. So yeah, it shook her, and is she over it yet? She's so totally grateful that she went, but it still hurts. It still hurts everybody that she trusted the damn MD. Did I say that twice? I didn't mean that. So, but going to DE all these years and seeing people grow and explode, while other docs just don't get it. They don't allow it. Their practices don't grow. Their lives don't grow. And I wonder what's lacking and what's so special that the other people have, because we're all people. Why can't we all be so special if we work at it? So I'm going to tell you a story about something that kind of blew my mind last week. Now, I'm in practice 43 years. So at least 40 years, especially when I would do lectures and talks all over the place, probably 50 a year, at least 50 outside events a year, one a week, maybe twice a week. But there was a place called St. Joseph's Home for the Blind in Jersey City, right next door, the next town over. And I used to see it a lot when I went to high school down there. I used to drive past it. When I became a chiropractor driving past it, I always had that dream to just get in there and adjust, because it was kids from 3 years old to 11 years old who couldn't see. So it's their school, and they learned how to deal with life and grow into adulthood being blind. And then I forgot about it, man. I forgot about it for 25 years, maybe. But it was always in my head to go there. We used to go to homes with AIDS and volunteer, and it's just babies with AIDS and adults with AIDS, and other homes for unwed mothers, and just the mothers and the babies. And this was volunteer. And I remember Dick Santo used to go, when he moved to Florida, he used to go on an Indian reservation. And he probably drove pretty far into the central Florida from the east coast of Florida to just people who didn't have a whole lot. So as I evolved in my office and cut the hours down from 6 days to 5 days to 4 days to 3 days to now 2 days, I said, all right, it's time to start giving back instead of just coming out of my own abundance, which I hope I touch on, but time to really express that. And I didn't exactly know how I was going to do my philanthropic. What do you call people who give stuff away? You know what I'm talking about. That word isn't coming to me either. But the new patient comes in, and I'm doing my lay lecture, my doctor's report, and he was starting to get it, I guess, because he goes, Doc, I'm blind in my right eye. Can you fix that? While he was sitting there with his daughter, who was the new patient. And I said to him, well, if it's coming from your brain to your eye, that could be tougher. I said, if it's coming from your brain, period, I said, that could be tougher. But I said, if there's a connection from your brain to your eye, remember, you just watched this little video about Harvey Lillard, who got his hearing back because there was a disconnection. He wasn't clear in the pathway, in the channel, in the nerve supply to his eye. And when Dee Dee Palmer said he was going to restore that channel, and he did, Dee Dee Palmer got Harvey Lillard to hear. I said, so if that's the case with you, who knows? I said, I've had people who couldn't hear and couldn't see, and their eyesight got better, and they needed to change their glasses when nothing ever happened for a long time. So he said, all right, that's great. And I remembered. I said, you know what? That reminds me of St. Joseph's Home for the Blind. I always wanted to go there. So why don't you set up an exam, and we'll take your x-ray, and we'll see if you have that subluxation up in there. And then I let it go. The last patient that same day was a new patient. So she's filling out, she comes in the room, I do my screening, my consultation. And just out of the blue, a lot of times I don't ask, I look on the thing. She wrote, I do administration. I said, oh, by the way, where do you work? She goes, I work at St. Joseph's Home for the Blind. So my first patient that day said it. I talked about the first patient, how I always wanted to do that. The last patient freaking works there. I turned red. I was like, hamana. My CA looked at me because she was there in the morning, and she totally understood what the heck Nate was doing. And I said, you know what? When you see your x-rays and we go through your new patient report, I'll explain what just happened. The next day, another new patient came, and she works at St. Joseph's Home for the Blind. I said, do you know Jocelyn? And she goes, yeah, she's a new girl. And they're chit-chatting, and now they love me. And I love them. But, it was just a warm, amazing connection that we had. And so now I guess Sinead is throwing me a freaking brick right through my head that after 40-something years, we're going to give you a shot at doing what you put out there enough times that this is going to happen. And I don't know, we're going to get some blind people to see. I got to put it in my head. Damn right. No doubt. So if it took 47 years or 43 years for this to happen, well, let me tell you, it took 47 years of me going to DE to finally understand what the breathing was about. And I hope that if you're just starting your path, or if you're going to DE and just you're still confused, or you expect to walk out of DE and have this amazing feeling last for 3 months to the next DE, when sometimes, or most of the time in the beginning, it only lasts for 2 weeks. And we build our practice of 2 weeks of excitement And then we kind of reset into our stinking thinking bad habits. So now this is what I kind of learned. This is what kind of happened. That the breathing wasn't to get something. I would breathe to get ideas. I would breathe to get relaxed. This is when I started breathing. It took maybe 20 years because I snuck out of DE under the tables while Sid was doing the breathing just to get out of there because I couldn't handle being with myself for 5 minutes. So then I started to do the breathing. I said, okay, let me give it a chance. Let me see what happens. But I was doing it to get something. And now I'm realizing that I'm doing the breathing to become the change. Not doing it for any other reason, just to become the change. Why didn't you guys just say that to me? Why don't you tell me why I'm doing the breathing? Because I started to analyze what DE stands for, born into consciousness. When I become aware and humble and obedient to God's will within myself. So born into consciousness when I become aware. So when do I become aware? Well, I become aware when I become aware of the unconscious thoughts. The unconscious thoughts are the fear, the anger, the things that hold us back. They're unconscious. And that is what we need to become aware of, so then we don't allow ourselves to hit that reset button, which lets us become our old, yucky, past self that doesn't tend to move forward, that stays stuck. In order to be unstuck, we have to allow the change. And I finally understood that that's what going to D over and over is. That's what the breathing is about, to allow that change. And it's going to take work. It's not easy. It sure as hell isn't comfortable to get this change. But to have the belief that we can have what we want, to have that belief that we can break records and cut through barriers, means that we have to believe in our future. And the way that we're going to believe in our future is to taste it and feel it and smell it and touch it, and not just wish for it. So when I went to DE, and the early breakthroughs for me was volume. They would talk about lots of patients, lots of volume, lots of money. And I thought that was going to give me peace and freedom. But I will tell you, I tasted 300 a week. I tasted 500 a week because I went and found the people who were doing it. I watched them do it. I felt it. I put 300, I put 500 all over the place. I said, what's going to happen when I have that? I'm going to be able to maybe not work so hard to get patients. I'll have a nice base, and they'll do some, I'll get them excited, and they'll do referrals. I'll have a car. I'll have this, and I'll do all that. Well, I hope you guys all get what you want, especially if it's material stuff, because you realize that ain't it. You don't realize that ain't it until you got it, because lots of people, we come from lack. And how can we be abundant if we come from lack? We have to be abundant before we really have anything, if we see it and feel it. So the way we get that true belief is to earn it. Once we've earned a few wins, then our body will believe and our mind will believe more and more, and it won't be so hard. Now I can do the breathing and not expect anything and just see what happens. When I would do the breathing and get up and go, geez, I'm just dizzy now. What the heck else is there? So yeah, it took me a bunch of years. And I want to tell you how DE has, the DE tribe, the DE brothers. I don't call people a whole lot. Hey, how you doing? Except my kind of my Jersey circle here. But the reason I'm right now above my office, I'm not at home, is because I wasn't sure if I was going to talk about some personal stuff with my son. The youngest guy is going through a really rough time with depression, too much weed, drinking. He's home, and I didn't want to talk about this. I'm sure it's not going to get back to him because he's not willing to change or do a whole lot yet. But the family, Marion and I and family, we're having a real rough time. So what do you think I did? I called Pete Amlinger. I said, Pete, man, I don't really want to be told, in my mind, I said, I'm going to call him. I don't want him to tell me what to do. Do I know what? Do I know what I want out of this phone call? I knew I wanted something spiritual. I wanted just a different way of thinking. So we talked all the way back home in the car. And at the end, he said, what we all see on Facebook. Oh, I picture you healed. I picture you whole. I picture you this and that. And it's nice to read, but lots of times it's here and it's really not here. So when, Pete goes, listen, just see him healed. See him the way you want him to be, the way he always was. And that was pretty tough to do when there's a lot of anger about what's happening. And I sat down outside of his room and I just did my breathing. And I did, shh, and I'm doing the breathing, shh. And he doesn't talk a whole lot. He kind of hangs out in there for a pretty long time. And I pictured him being well. And I pictured him wanting to work, wanting to join society, wanting to have interests. And I'm not kidding you. When I finished my 49th breath, it took about 30 seconds. He opened the door and he goes, hey, Dad, can you adjust me? Like, all right, it's a good sign. I went in there. And then that's when me and him talked. And he really told me how he was feeling. And that was the first time that really happened in 2 years. I mean, I'll take waiting for adjusted St. Joseph's Home for the Blind for 42 years or 40 years when I can get a response in 30 seconds on something that really mattered. Just because I put myself in the right state and somehow that vibe went through that closed door. You know what? It was a huge win for both of us and for the family, I think. And more so, it was reinforced that belief that we've got something so big that we can't really wrap our head around. And me and Gianluca talked even about like dying, like what happens? I go, isn't that wild? I said, but energy can't go away, G. So, you don't have to fight with it. You don't have to fight with, is there God? Is there not God? If you don't believe it, don't fight with it. Just go with it. If you do believe it, what the heck? Why not believe in something that's going to make you feel better or give you peace? Because in the end, you don't know either way anyway, right? But I'll tell you what, it was powerful. And I thank God for my DE people, the people we can lean on. And I don't know, I guess I'll tell this last story, how when things were rough. And my kids didn't even find out that I was divorced. You guys probably, nobody knows that. But the kids didn't find out until they were probably 28 years old. We never told them. And when I was packing up a house, one of the 11 house times we moved, Dr. Danny found a note, and it was like, oh, you'll be fine after, you'll be okay, hang in there. And then he told Bianca, and they found the old marriage license, and they were pretty pissed. Like, why didn't you tell me? I was like, if I needed to, I would have told you. But I remember having a rough time. And what did I do? Like through the divorce and stuff, I said, I'm going to picture what the perfect woman would be like. And I went and dug out this letter out of the safe that nobody's ever going to see. But I took out the highlights of it. And it said, okay, what I picture, what I imagine, see it, feel it, smell it, taste it, touch it, everything. And I'm going to just give you the highlights. I wrote personal interests, and I wrote all kinds of stuff under that. And then I wrote practical info, like eye color, not a lot of makeup, NA meant nice ass, some extremely loyal, things like that. A few muscles, fit, works out, right, in health. She's got to not trust medicine, and she's going to have to breastfeed. Jeez, I didn't know I was looking for a wife, right? And then I wrote attitudes, and then I wrote education. How educated does this person have to be? And then spiritual. That she wants. I want her to be able to help the less fortunate and have that kind of makeup in her. And then love style. And I wrote some cool things on there. And I'm telling you, it was like weird science where these two dudes created the woman out of chemicals. It's a cool movie from the 80s or 90s. And wouldn't you know it, there's Kelly LeBrock, and they made her. Well, Marion don't know it, but I just sucked her in from the universe because I had all this stuff. She probably screwed up by not writing it out, and she got me. But, that's just how it goes. I lucked out. So this process of going through DE and helping us through life is really just a process. It's always evolving, and it's always going deeper and learning more about what the truth is, and then trying to get our soul to express that as often as we can and be aware of what causes us to go into reset, because we all do, and forget about the bad habit, not forget about the bad habits, and realize I'm doing that. I'm getting into that. I don't want to be there. My biology teacher used to say, life is a wet process. He kind of said, life is a wet process. That's what he would say. Well, you know what? Life is just a process. But the cool part about it is, in chemistry and in college, we learned about the catalyst, that you can just put all these atoms and chemicals together, but nothing happens unless we introduce a catalyst. So I like to look at me and my life and all our chiropractic lives and non-chiropractic lives as a process. But it's up to you and me to become that catalyst. Light it on fire, explode it, have our setbacks, and then come back even stronger and learn from that take no bull, shoot the wounded, eat the dead, and just have fun all the way through and realize when it's not fun, it's only temporary. Because we're going to get through to the other side. And even though I was in my doldrums, I said, who am I going to call? Who's going to give me something that I'm aching for? I don't even know what it is. And Pete, I guess, hopefully you get a bunch of calls more and you can be, our fearless guru leader, which you are. And I really appreciate and love everybody. I can't wait to see you. Missing DE causes me in my office to be a bumbling idiot. I'm telling you, the first thing to go is my table talk and bedside manner. And I guess that has a lot to do with, confidence and just not being around. And I'll see you guys in July. Wow. Love and appreciate you. No sound, Pete. Pete, he's still in my head thinking about him. Brian, no sound.
I got it now. Yeah.
There we go.
Anyway, great job, Paul. Thank you so much for being on tonight. That was awesome. I forgot about Bianca. We were watching her every week on Survivor. I could see you having some mixed feelings about that, but she rocked it, man, and you should be very proud. And who knows, maybe there'll be another opportunity for her to get some revenge on those MDs.
Yep, we're going down to May 21st. We're going to go to the finale in LA. So we're still having fun with it.
Awesome. You should be very proud. She did awesome. So thank you so much for being on. Great call tonight, Paul. And we will see you at July DE. Excited to have you back there in Atlanta. Thank you, everyone, for being on our Tuesday night Principal Chiro broadcast. We will see you next Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern. Love and appreciate you all. Have a great night. God bless. Thank you, Paul.
Night, y'all.